Good morning, SKs, and good morning, JKs, and welcome to your math lesson of the day. Today, we're on our second day of comparing analog clocks and digital clocks. So we're going to start off by watching this great video on YouTube, which actually shows you at the same time an analog clock and a digital clock changing together. So let's go check out that video and go from there. All right.
You can order DVDs and more from our website. Click the button that says subscribe. What time is it? It's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it's 12 o'clock. What time is it? It's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock.
I just wanted to pause the video because I just noticed that as the clock is changing, the time of day in the photo is also changing. So in the morning, the sun was up really high, and then the sun started going down in the late afternoon and evening. So I like how this is showing us what time it is analog, what time it is digital, and also showing us the time of day with the pictures in the background.
It's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it's 12 o'clock. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. What time is it? It's 1:32.
Okay, we're not going to look at this section because this talks about how when the minute hand is on the 6, it's 30. But we don't need to do that this year. So I just want to go back to this part of the video. What I like about this part is how it shows you here in the corner what the digital time is in relation to what the time is on the analog clock. So here, the hour hand is pointing to the 7. And so the 7 is what you see here first on the digital clock. That's where you put the hour. And then the minute hand, is pointing to the 12. And we know that when it's pointing to the 12, which it should always be, it just means it's a ding, new hour. It's a clock time. And it also means that 0 minutes have gone by because it's a new hour. And that's why you see here 0. So seeing 7.00 is the same thing as seeing the analog clock like this. This is 7 o'clock, and this is 7 o'clock. And you can see in the video that as the clock moves, so does the time on the digital clock. There we are. I thought that was pretty cool. So I will close that now, and we will go check out our lesson of the day. So comparing analog and digital clocks, here on this page, I have my 2 teacher models. I'll go through one more example with you. So we know that for this lesson, the minute hand, which is the long hand, is always going to be pointing up at the 12. Okay? And that means that 0 minutes have gone by. Ding! It's a strike of a new hour. You would always say it's some hour o'clock. So because we know that this hand is always going to be pointing to the 12, 00 minutes, we can actually put in 00 in our digital clock right away, because that is not going to change. Just like this hand on the analog clock is not going to change. What is going to change is the hour with the shorthand. So if I point to the 3, it is 3 o'clock. So my digital clock, I would write a 3 here, because this is where you put the hour. And this means the same thing, 3 o'clock. If it's pointing to the 10, then here in the hour space, I would also put the number 10. And this would mean 10 o'clock. One more. What if my hour hand was pointing at the 12 and the minute hand is pointing at the 12? Well, no problem. I would still put the 12 here. And it would be 12 o'clock. All right, let's go check out our lesson. So for today, you have 1, 2, 3 pages. SKs, I'd like you to do all 3 pages. And JKs, I'd like you to pick 2 of the pages to do. So you can look through them and figure out which 2 pages you want to do. Because at this point, it's mainly just review. So, activity 2, test your time reading skills by answering the following questions. In number 1, you need to show 5 o'clock on both the digital and the analog clock. So for the analog, you need to draw in your long minute hand on the 12 and make sure your hour hand is pointing to the 5. And then for your digital clock, you put the hour here, followed by 00 to show that it's a new hour. Same thing for number 2. For number 2, you need to show 2 o'clock on both the digital and the analog clock. Number 3, fill in the circle of the digital clock that shows the same time as the analog clock. So you really have to look at this analog clock, find out what time is it showing you, and then circle the right option. Is it 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock, or 12 o'clock? Number 4, show 8 o'clock on both the digital and analog clock. Show 8 o'clock on both the digital and analog clock. Number 5, show 6 o'clock on both the digital and analog clock. And for your last page here, number 6, what time is shown on this digital clock? Is it showing 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or 1 o'clock? For number 7, you'll be reviewing your times of day. Put the time of days in order. So write which time of day comes first, second, third, and fourth. So here you have little boxes at the bottom. You need to write in 1, 2, 3, 4 in the right order. So, one hint is that morning comes first. So whatever picture is morning will be number 1. And finally, for number 8, this clock is missing all its numbers. So fill in the missing numbers on the clock, then draw the minute and hour hands to show that it is 2 o'clock. Voila, that's all for your instructions for math this morning. It's time for you to get busy, finish those activities. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you a little bit later on. Bye, SKs. Bye, JKs.